to open this first Lancefield Society early and mid-career research network meeting, and really excited that we can do this, and it's good to see some people online, and thank you to all those who've been involved. So just a reminder that the Lancefield Society is named after Rebecca Lancefield, who we all know did a lot of amazing research, was a female pioneer in streptococcal research, and is responsible for the grouping, classification, as well as many other things. The Lancefield Society is on the back of 21 meetings, so we should have the inclusion of Stockholm there as the 21st Lancefield meeting since 1960. There we go. 2022, Stockholm, Sweden. And the vision for the society is to improve knowledge and understanding of strep pathogenesis, immunology, epidemiology, improve prevention and treatment of streptococcal disease, promote awareness of streptococcal diseases in the community, and specifically for the Lancefield International Symposia on Streptococci and streptococcal diseases. The society really carries the can between the meetings and hopes to maximise quality and scientific impact, support the local organisers, and we'll hear about the upcoming Lancefield Symposium in Brisbane in 2025 soon, and to make any decisions between the Lancefield Symposia. And the society welcomes a diverse range of experts. So I'm the current president. We'll be having some voting soon. Anna Norrby-Teglund, who we'll hear from soon, is the vice president. Mark Walker is secretary and treasurer, and Victor Nizet and Pierre Smith are scientific and strategic advisors. And delighted that Michelle, Alita, Pamela, Ruben, Saida, and Josh have stepped up as the Early and Mid-Career Researcher Network Committee. And thank you so much to the 6 of you for arranging and thinking about tonight's webinar. So the Lancefield Society aims to have some special sessions between at the meetings, and we had a early mid-career researcher event at the 2022 meeting, and I think the committee have some ideas about what might be done at the 2025 meeting as well, which is exciting. So if you're not a member, please become a member. We've got over 200 members from over 20 countries. And it's not too expensive, and it helps you get a reduced fee for your registration for Lancefield meetings. So, and also please check out our website. So I will finish there, and I will hand over, I believe, to the Early Mid-Career Researcher Committee, and over to Josh. Josh.
Thank you, Andrew. So everyone, I think most of you know Andrew Steer, who is the president of the society and my boss in Melbourne at Murdoch Children's Research Institute. So I just wanted to introduce the committee. I'm Josh Ozowicki. I'm a children's infectious diseases doctor in Melbourne, and my group-based strep research mostly revolves around human challenge work and all sorts of different studies flowing from that work. We're really excited to be working with a lot of people I can see on the screen, and others around the world on group-based strep work. But on the clinical side, I enjoy all streptococci, or I hate them. You know what I mean. So I just want the rest of the committee to introduce themselves. So Pamela.
Hi. Hi, Anna. Thank you for sharing your experience and study with yours. And hello, all colleagues present at the Lancefield Society first AMCR webinar. Thank you for attending. And I am Pamela Lanish. I'm a part of the committee and work with analysis of cellular and genomic components virulent potential and susceptibility profile antimicrobial of Streptococcus agalactiae at the Laboratory of Molecular Biology and Physiology of Streptococcus and the State University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and coordinated by Dr. Priscila Minagal. And thank us for the presentations. And the first is Sierra. The next stop.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Sayyeda Naqvi, and I work as a clinical microbiologist and also an infectious diseases physician in adult medicine here in John Hunter Hospital, which is located in Newcastle, 2 hours away from main city, Sydney in Australia. I am an early career researcher, and I have a special interest in streptococcal infections, especially streptococcal genomics, with a particular interest in group B streptococcal invasive infections. And I have done sequencing of group B strep invasive isolates to understand the molecular epidemiology, their virulence factors, and also the antimicrobial resistance in group B strep. Thank you.
And next was Elita.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elita Ioannikaita. I'm Advanced Research Fellow in Bacterial Genomics and Epidemiology at Imperial College London. I work on using genomic sequencing and evolutionary models to investigate evolution and transmission and antimicrobial resistance patterns in Group A and Group B streptococci. So we have a lot of shared common interests here, which is great. And I contributed to reporting on M1 UK in 2019, and I was very interested to see how much more publications recently came out actually reporting this lineage globally now, and especially since the last upsurge. So that's me.
Thank you, Elita. And Ruben McGregor.
Hi, everyone. Ruben McGregor from the University of Auckland. I'm in Nicky Moreland's lab from the University of Auckland. I'm probably the most antipodean of everybody, being from New Zealand, other side of the world for most people. My strep of choice is Group A strep, and we're mostly interested in acute rheumatic fever and the immunology of acute rheumatic fever, as I'm an immunologist by training. My first Lancefield meeting was actually the Fiji one, and then the second one was in Sweden, where Anna, I think, hosted it, which was an amazing meeting. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. And finally, Michelle Coleman, and Michelle will take over and introduce Anna afterwards.
Hi, everyone. Good morning from Seattle. Apologies for the lack of webcam. I need to talk to our IT about that. I deliberately chose the good conference room and everything with a really nice view of the Space Needle on a sunny morning. So please use your imagination. There, it's 8 a.m. here, so beautiful morning. I'm a PhD senior scientist in the Raja Gopal lab. I'm an immunologist as well here in Seattle Children's Research Institute. Our group researches Group B strep, primarily in pregnancy, but we also have other models of infection going on too. And I particularly care about the host immune responses to infection. So we published extensively on pregnancy. Also, we care about neonatal, early onset, late onset, and we have a systemic models going on as well. So lots happening in our small but pretty great team. And it falls to me to introduce our speaker today. So it's a great honor and delight to do so. She's a stalwart of the Lancefield Society and our first senior researcher speaker at this inaugural webinar, Professor Anna Norrby-Teglund, who graduated from Umeå University with a PhD in clinical bacteriology, and from there completed a postdoc at the University of Tennessee in Memphis. She subsequently returned to Sweden and established a research group at the Karolinska Institute in 1997, and has been a professor of medical microbial pathogenesis and head of unit at the Center for Infectious Medicine since 2008. Anna's group's research focus has been on severe invasive bacterial infections, in particular those caused by Group A strep and Staph aureus. We're very excited to hear from Anna today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Then I will start by sharing. Now I'm having two here. That's exciting. Sir, is it looking okay? Yes. Okay. Good. So first of all, thank you so much for the kind introduction and also invitation. I'm quite honored to be asked to give this talk. I also had a disclaimer that this is not my typical talk. So I'm hoping for a highly interactive session. And I was also quite happy to be encouraged to invite people, former members of the lab and also some current, which I definitely wanted to take the opportunity to do. So with me, I have three people. We have two here in the room, Anna and Laura, and Nikolai has hopefully joined us on Zoom. He had a committee meeting, so he might be a little bit late.
He's there.
But he's there. Okay, excellent. So I just let them each introduce themselves so you know who they are. Anna, do you want to start?
Yes, I can start. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna, and I joined Anna's group in October. I did my PhD. My focus has been always host and microbe interaction, and particularly how the microbes tweak the host immune response to establish successful infection. And during my PhD, I've worked with Salmonella, but now I decided to go a bit upper in the body. And here I am in the streptococcal community. Very happy to join this network.
Thank you, Anna.
Yes.
Laura?
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura. So I'm an assistant professor at Anna's group. I joined initially 5 years ago as a postdoc. I did my PhD in the University of Greifswald in Germany. My focus is also host pattern interactions, but mostly using like data-driven approaches. And my favorite tool, so to say, is proteomics, and the second favorite is transcriptomics. So I work mostly with data analysis and trying to figure out how pathogen and host communicate and like kind of make the mess that they do sometimes. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Nikolai, you want to say?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikolai. Yeah, I did my PhD in Germany in 2012. And almost immediately after that, I went to Stockholm and worked in Anna's lab from 2012 to 16, came back in 16 to Germany, started in 17 my own group in Greifswald. We actually never met, at least not in Greifswald, Laura. And yeah, since 21, I was appointed also as a professor here in Greifswald, but on tenure track, and currently an evaluation is ongoing, and hopefully from next year on, I will be permanently here and in Anna's lab, but also now here. So I started with basically, genetics of group A strep. In Anna's lab, we expanded everything to necrotizing skin and soft tissue infection and host pathogen interactions at the tissue site. And we are continuing that work here in Greifswald and expanded a bit also for Anna from group A to Streptococcus dysgalactica and a bit also on group B strep.
Thank you. So it's really wonderful that you could join. And so for everyone, shout out, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. And if you want to comment on anything or ask a question, the more interactive, the better. I don't have really that many slides, only around 15. So we may also take the questions in the end or post them in the chat, and we'll take them as it comes along. So with this, I thought it was quite a nice setup here. We have a fairly new postdoc, and then we have Laura, who has gone from a postdoc to establishing an independent line as an assistant professor. And then we have Nikolai, who is has left us, but we're still collaborating, which is good. Okay. So you so nicely introduced I wanted to give a little bit of background so that you know where I'm coming from, but it was nicely introduced by Michelle. What I like to add, which I think is important for this kind of talk, but which I typically do not present, is that in between here, between in 99 and 2002, I also had two quite successful experiments. I had my two sons, Jonas and Gustav, and I think for this talk, it's actually quite important because family and kids are also part of all the things that you do juggle and while trying to be a good mentor. From my perspective, I've had many good, excellent supervisors, but I must say that two people stands out and who has really been my role models as mentors, and that is my postdoc supervisor, Professor Malakot, and also during my postdoc period, I collaborated a lot with Donald Lowe in University of Toronto, Canada. And both of these people have absolutely made a significant impact in my career and really been fantastic mentors. And I started to reflect in preparation of this talk, why do I appreciate them so much? And it's because, first of all, we always had fun. It was always very research focused, but despite of that, they were not only just interested in the research I was conducting, but they were also interested in helping out to make sure that I could have a successful career. And I think that's really what stands out. And I have tried to, I'm often thinking back on my time and what they did as mentors to me. So quite a lot of what I'm going to say today is based on what I learned from them. It's also what I've learned during the years with all my different group members. And if it's something that's absolutely fantastic in research, it's the many different people that we get to interact with. And it's a high diversity, it's different cultures, different personalities. But what we all have in common is definitely the interest in research. So I have been fortunate enough to work with a number of fantastic people. And here you can see Nikolai back then. And Laura is also here, and Anna, we still haven't taken the group photo that comes in a few weeks here. I also bring with me all the people that I interact with at Center for Infectious Medicine, which is a translational research unit here at Karolinska with a focus on human immune system. And we are more than 120 SIMMers, 15 groups, and also 7 team leaders. So those are all connected, a little bit junior, but wanting to establish their own independent group, but they are still connected with the group. So it's a little bit of a safety net, which I think is good. So with all I interact with, and I also learn a lot from all of these people, and it's really a win-win. I hope it's definitely a win for me. So with that, that's what I sort of will try to bring into the points I want to highlight today. So how to be a good mentor whilst juggling all the expectations of an early mid-career researcher. That was the topic you asked me to talk about, and a few key points is that one needs to be engaged. That's a definite must. And you need also to be interested in helping the person develop. It's not only to provide the solution for a given experiment, but I think it goes a little bit beyond that. And to do that, availability and dedicated time is important. That can be definitely challenging with all of the other tasks that you do need to juggle. I'll come back to a little bit what I think, how one can achieve this. I also think that it's one thing that I learned, I wished I would have learned earlier, was trust your mentees. Provide guidance, but avoid micromanagement. The earlier one can start with that, the more independent the people will be, and it's also a fun way of working. But it's that comes a little bit with time. For me, one key thing is the passion for research. For me, that's a real energy boost, and I do think that needs to drive sort of the meetings and the mentorship and the interaction. How to achieve it? One thing that we not always do is to define the expectation or to set the expectations. And that goes both ways. What can the mentee expect from the mentor and vice versa? And I think that's important to have a successful interaction, that you both are having the same expectations. And this can be with respect to availability, focus area, etc. And with so many different things going on, it is important not to overcommit. But you need to find solution that works for both parties. And this is something that one needs to discuss actively. This also then relates to time management. One needs to secure time for each task. What I do, when I'm at work, I have an open door policy. So what that means is my door is always open and people are welcome to come in. And with that said, I typically leave work and have not done anything on my own to-do list, which means I also need to find that time. So I go into hiding from time to time at home, finish off my things, and then I go back in and I'm available. So this is just something I would really recommend that you think about it, which type of availability works for you and how can you rig it. But it's important that your co-workers know when they can come to you and that they are welcome when they do. Prioritize tasks. This is actually something that one can work quite a lot with. Some tasks are high priority. We have a clear deadline. We need to write the grants, papers, apply for positions, whatever. All of those, definitely. You have a deadline, you do it. But then there are also more strategic tasks. And here, I think one can learn to be a little bit egoistic. What's in it for me? It can either be this meeting or collaboration would be good for my research. Fine, that's excellent. Go for it. Or this will be fun. It will give me energy. I might extend my network. That's also good. But then there are also other tasks where you may not be that interested. You will likely not be that good at doing that tasks if you're not really feeling into it. And then I think it's better to decline politely because we can't do everything. So, but then it's better to decline, not do it, and prioritize other things. And I think in the beginning, in the early career, you're always quite honored also. Oh, I got invited to do this and they appreciate my input. And then you might accept too many tasks and it will become difficult to get time to do everything. Another thing that I find very important for myself is an activity or task energy boosting or energy draining. And we sometimes need to do the energy draining things also. It can be administrative things like for me. And then we just need to do it. But then perhaps good enough is good and it's okay. I do think that we need to make sure that we get the energy boosting tasks in there because that's what will make everything else work. And so how can we do that? We can delegate. Mm-hmm. delegate task is actually, it's not only to get rid of the task, but it can also serve the purpose that to show that you actually trust a coworker, and by that also empower. It can be your mentee, it can be a colleague, it can be someone else who you know will do a good job on that. So that's something to consider if it can be delegated. Another thing is to actually learn from our mentees, because one can learn so much. I mean, some of the best changes that we have made at SIM are really suggestions coming up from the Simmers. So use the opportunity also to learn and develop based on what your mentees are saying. Networks is really important. To be a good mentor, for me, my networks has been absolutely critical. That's where you have a difficult situation, go discuss it with a colleague, get more reflections on your problem. It will both make you feel better and you can be more secure when you go into, for example, a difficult meeting. And it's also fun with the networks. An essential basis for good mentorship is actually your own balance and energy. To come into a meeting stressed and unfocused, then it's better actually to cancel the meeting and then set a new time when you can come back and just focus on the meeting and go for it. Again, I like to emphasize this with energy boosting activities and energy draining. And this can be also at work. I'm not just talking private, being in the sun and enjoying outdoors, but actually at work. There are definitely things here that will give me energy, and there are things that will drain. And I do think that we all benefit from having an increased focus on what you're good at. And if you're good at it, it will boost both excellence and energy. We need to deal with the problems, but we do not always need to have them in focus, but rather to get the scale up on the boosting. And that will make you a better mentor, definitely. One thing that we have done we started at Center for Infectious Medicine was an early career program. So this is a little bit aside of the topic, but we had so many junior researchers at the center, so we wanted to make sure offer them mentorship, career advice. What do you need to know in order to make an efficient career? What do you need education-wise, courses, etc.? What's out there? How does the budget work? How does KI work? And things like that. So now this has actually been adopted by the department. So now we have it at my Department of Medicine. So it involves then all the early career researchers at the department. And this, first of all, you get the mentorship, advice, grant application coaching, etc., but you also get your network. And that is also why I think the Lancefield Early Career Network is so important and a really fantastic initiative, because you can get that network also, which I think will benefit all of you and not the least the community. So then I got a few questions, and you really had me thinking here. So I got this question: what do you wish early mid-career Anna could tell Professor Anna? And you can think about this in all different kinds of ways. My first spontaneous thought was actually quite well done, and high five. And so then on a little bit more serious side, what I do think I wish I would have had perhaps a little bit more grip on earlier was prioritize, be strategic, and have fun. Delegate tasks, because that will empower people. It's not just because I'm lazy, but I do think that that is important, and it's a very stimulating thing to do. Coaching rather than providing the solution. This is, to me, tremendously difficult. And I think it's for many researchers, because we are so solution driven, we just give the solution and then done with that, and we move on. But actually coaching, it's a clear win-win, because you may actually get another solution than what you yourself had in mind, and also it will really boost independence of your coworkers. But it's difficult. The other question was, what do you look for when selecting candidates to join your lab? And this is, yes? Perhaps it was not a question. What do you look for? This is a very important question, because you want to get the right people into the lab. What my number one is enthusiasm and passion in the research question. What is the motivation of the person? And some of my best candidates, many have approached me. And two examples is Laura and Nikolai, who both approached me and said, I want to join your lab. And that really, they had looked me up. And Laura actually checked me out at a meeting. So she did it very thoroughly. But it's that kind of motivation. You want to have persons who's really into the research questions, and in contrast then to some which might be into it for the title or something else, or just doing a postdoc at Karolinska Institute. That I get quite often. Anna, I did have to hunt down myself. I was on her committee, and I was dead set that I wanted her
3 hours in.
But of course, second, competence and technical skills, but also very much stringency and focus, because that's important scientifically. And as I'm not in the lab myself, I really want to make sure that the people I'm working with do have the sense of the importance of stringency and getting the research right. That also relates to openness and also how the candidates interact with group members. So typically we have a very quite extensive interview where the candidates are meeting different people at the center, the group members, and of course us, and then also contact references. And I used to take the references in writing. Now I typically always call. I prefer to have a meeting or a phone call, because it's what you do not want to put in writing that might be important. Okay, and finally, a more scientific question. So key priorities for advancing our understanding of streptococcus. That's quite a big topic, and there are many ways you can go here. But what I do think is still a remaining question is, what is an immune protective response versus an immune-mediated pathology? And I do think that this is very important when we talk about vaccine development, which is absolutely critical for the RHD problem. Another really interesting question is also this: what happens between the carriage to acute infection to post-streptococcus sequelae? And here one can think about both evolutionary aspects. What kind of immune response do you get from carriage? What makes the transition from carriage to acute infections, etc. And also, I finally want to lift the interplay between pathogen and host. That's something that we've talked a lot about. And I particularly like to highlight one study that I was collaborating with. It was a study headed by Fredrik Karlsson in Lund, where he elegantly showed that it's actually the interplay between the host genotype and the bacterial phenotype that regulates disease variability. In this study, he could show that a particular host genotype and a bacterial property with NADase actually was a determinant of whether or not the NSTI patients were amputated or not. So it was it makes it very complex, and it shows that we do need to look at both factors. And for that, I just want to show this. This is a slide slightly modified, but provided by Tom Parks, where it's really a puzzle that we need to lay at all time points. But this is Tom's idea. I need to give him credit for this. I borrowed it from him. He gave it to me. But it's all about finding the corners. And this is where I do think that we do need the systems biology approach. We need the holistic data, and we need the multi-omics analysis to really understand the interplay between everything, and also not just go for the candidate genes, because that will limit our thinking in this. And I think with that, I'm come to my last slide. So I think I'll stop sharing, and hopefully we can get some discussion started.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have some reflections here. Yes, now they're going to set me straight.
I was telling Anna before that it's dangerous to invite us all different generations of her lab, because we all can share notes on how much Anna has changed over the years. What is good, what is bad. But no, for this, let's say what I wanted to bring to the discussion was more like examples of practical ways how Anna has shown what she mentioned before on her mentorship. So I have two particular examples. One of them is, I remember when we were writing our first paper together, I was first author, she was last. I couldn't look at that manuscript anymore. I was super fed up. We were in the last time and we were seated together. It was like 4 hours. Anna didn't stop for coffee, for the bathroom, for what, for nothing. I was wondering, how is this woman doing it? Eventually, like she said, okay, let's take a pause. And then we came back. And then the first thing that she did was like, oh, isn't it this fun? And then she just kept writing. And I was like, wow, I mean, she has so much energy. And I mean, just that comment of like, oh, isn't it this fun? It just like boosts me a lot. I was like, yeah, actually, it's fun. And we're doing this for something that we like, something that we're very passionate about. So that was actually a very good example on how you can share your energy and your passion for what we're doing in a very simple way. My other example is also how she supports things that I do that maybe she could maybe disagree with. So like I tend to volunteer a lot. I do quite a lot of things. Every time I come to her and I tell her, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this other thing, she looks at me kind of like, okay, and when are you gonna work? She always tells me like her advice, and that was very related to what she said. She was always, well, Laura, if this gives you energy, that's good. Like, take it. Like, but think about it. Is this something that would like boost your like enthusiasm for what you're doing? Then it's good. And I do think that that was a very valuable advice for me when every time I think an opportunity that I have, I always think, of course, it will be more work, but actually could make my work more efficient, because I will have more energy to do the other tasks if I have this other thing that is also giving me energy. So those were two clear examples for me of how Anna has shown some of the things that she has mentioned. And on my notes, also like how as a mentee, I really feel encouraged. There are two things that I think also Anna, but also other of my mentors have shown, and is like, first, to be yourself, to show that you are a person as well. You know, you are not just a scientist, you are not just in the office, but you also have, a personality and make jokes, and like, it's nice to show that you're also a person. And the other one is to also make the mentee part of the team. So like, it's not that you're just the boss, but like we're doing this together. Like we are on it together and we are in equal stance, so to speak. And that for me is very powerful. Let's say when I sit down to write something or we discuss something like where we're both putting an input and we feel that we're building it together, it feels much, yeah, it feels nicer and you feel a little bit more involved, and that's actually very good. Yeah, so those are the kind of small comments that I have about what Anna mentioned.
I can comment on a little thing. Well, I joined recently Anna's group, but for me, I think we met each other expectation on the networking part, because I really believe in this, particularly in science, in the supportive community. And I think I didn't even have the time to arrive at SIM, that she encouraged me to follow the career development. So this is, I found it very nice and very interesting the way she wanted to support me even before I started. And also to encourage to take part of the streptococcal community, the mandate community. And I'm very happy. Actually, it's not that I'm super shy. So I was really happy, and I think that this is really important, as I said, particularly in science. When you need to meet each other, you need each other expertise. You need also some support for other grants and so on. So I think that this was already since the beginning showing how she means to support her people.
Nikolai, are you going to give the real
No. So I totally agree with what you said. And so my story is quite simple. It's actually quite funny how I got the job in Anna's lab. She had no other chance when hiring me because she accidentally replied to my email except of forwarding it. And it was written in English, not in English, actually in Swedish. Sounds interesting. Should he come for an interview or something like that?
I
So
thought
I
I
think,
wrote it to a colleague. Yes.
yeah, exactly. So and I replied, I was wondering why is it in Swedish and without hello or whatever. So I wrote back, sure, I'm coming, kind of. So and this is how it happened. So I think a couple of weeks later, I was already in Stockholm for an interview, and we were invited to Anna's home, had dinner all together. I have to admit, I was really exhausted. I had to give also a seminar for the entire SIM. So it was not only a group meeting. So I was really exhausted the next day. And before I landed, basically after I checked my emails after landing back in Germany, I had already a response, you are hired, when are you going to start? And what I always will remember is that we were a really great team all together. We were friends. Also, we were interested in science. We had fun at work. Everyone was taking care of each other. Everyone was adjusting. Even I see Shrikant is also here, who was at that time a PhD student, and we had like completely different time slots in working. I started always earlier, very early. Shrikant started late, and we had projects together, which were encouraged by Anna also. And we found our way to collaborate all with each other, have fun. We went out Fridays for after work. Yeah, and in terms, I have to emphasize that I was never thinking in a strategic way. So I had no strategy for my career before joining SIM, joining Anna's lab. And only during the time I learned, okay, you need to be strategic, you need the support, you need the network, and that changed certain perspectives in my work for sure. And also what Laura told, just like writing papers together, I never experienced it before, sitting with Anna for many, many hours in the office and finishing the paper. I have to admit it was fun. Yeah, definitely. So I learned really a lot during the time, and particularly this I will always remember, and this is what I'm trying now too, but this needs to be adjusted to the needs of the students, because what I experience is a kind of total freedom. So in the projects we were working on, so it was always supportive to kind of climate that I can suggest my own ideas, to pursue my own ideas in a project. And this is what I'm trying to do now too with PhD students in my lab. But I have also to admit, like you said, rather support when providing a solution, but it's not always possible. And this, I guess, depends also on the level of a student. If it's an early student, it's rather provide a few solutions and go in the direction that at the postdoc level or a senior postdoc level, that the solutions should come also from different perspectives of the postdoc too. And I'm happy to answer questions for sure, if you want to hear something.
Any questions? Maybe just put your hand up if you have a question.
I have. McGregor. Yeah, I'm just intrigued by this. I mean, thank you so much for the talk, and so many little bits and nuggets in there to bear in mind. But this idea of writing papers together in your office, is that something you would recommend in general, in terms of, I don't know, I've heard of people going on writing retreats and things like that. And I mean, at the moment, the way I do things anyway, is you kind of write and then you send something to somebody else for their input, and then they write. And so I've never kind of experienced a collaborative writing process like that. So
no, I think, I mean, the first draft, I always let the co-worker draft it first. But then instead of me changing too many things, it's easier and more constructive actually to sit together, and I love it. It might not be for everyone, but so far no one has said no, because the good thing is that when we are sitting there writing, we can both go through the text. We can discuss data. We can say, okay, why does this look like this? And we go in and we check the raw data, and it actually gives me a chance to see all the raw data. And then, okay, how about this statement? Can we, does the technique actually allow us to say that? And by the end, when you're done, you know that the phrasing is okay, because you have both discussed it, both the one who has actually done the work and me from my perspective. So I find it very efficient, and it's a fun way.
I think it also highlights that, because people get to see your thinking process while you're writing as well, which I think is really important.
I want to change this because something, and then it's easier also to get the feedback, because you get it in a context. Absolutely.
If I can add there, I learned so much. Anna is not the first one that I have write with. My previous supervisor also used to do that, but I learned as a PhD student, as a postdoc, so much from that, because it's what you just said. Like in the moment, she has said, "Oh, I think we should put this first because it highlights this," instead of she just doing it and me later just accepting the changes, and that's it. And another thing is also that one can actually support everyone's strengths. Like we all write a little bit different song, but we all have certain things. So it's very nice. Like I noticed, for example, with Anna, she tends to write very long sentences. So instead of she writing a whole long sentences, sending it to me, and me thinking, oh, again, I need to adapt this, I can just tell her in that moment, well, I think this is a little bit too long. What if we just shop it here? And it's just immediate, doesn't have to be, she sent it to me, I adapt it, I send it to her to see if she agrees, and it's just in that moment gets done. So actually I found it extremely effective, also fun, and also a very, very good learning experience. I really like it. Yeah, for both persons. It's nice.
Okay, Alita?
Yeah, so I have a question for Anna and maybe others in your team. I don't know exactly how it works in Sweden at the moment, but given that since COVID pandemic, the world has moved a little bit more online, which also proves that we are able to have this webinar, and we are from all different parts of the world. How are you adjusting your mentorship and also group leadership to more online working patterns? Maybe not all the time, but sometimes, because in turn it has expanded the opportunities for more global and sometimes more inclusive participations of some of the members that maybe usually in person could not participate or benefit from mentorship or sharing the knowledge. But of course, also that on the downside, it reduces the in-person interactions. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this, and how are you managing this online meetings, if you have any? I don't know.
I think, I mean, of course, there are good things with online meetings like this one. And I mean, being able to interact and have seminar speakers from Australia here, we have had that, and that got all started during COVID. I think at the workplace, I'm always on site, and I think most of the group members are also, unless you really do need dedicated time for yourself to do your stuff, and you need to sit very focused at home. And I think overall at the unit, it's mostly on site. And for example, for some seminars, we have opted not to have them digitally, because we do think that the discussion becomes, but people are more focused when they are in the room, and the discussion becomes more interactive. So with some activities, we have opted to have it only in person, as despite losing a few people, and it is more inclusive. I see that point, but one needs to pick, because I do think also you lose a little bit. You do need, I definitely need to meet people.
But I mean, one point there also is that your open door policy also applies for the online. Like, you know, like even, for example, even if sometimes I'm from home, but I need her feedback very quickly, I just text her on Teams, kind of like, Anna, do you have 5? And then she comes to me after, like, yeah, sure. And then just like, we just call each other on a Zoom meeting, like, oh, Anna, I just had this question about this. What do you think? And then we just have that as more interaction that we will have in the office, but online.
Yeah.
It's not the most frequent. I mean, yes, I think here most people prefer live interactions, but as Anna said, sometimes one is from home, and then one can have that small
and it is a good thing. It definitely opens up possibilities. But I do think we need to meet also to get the we feeling, and to get the social interaction also.
So, Anna, on that note, and meeting in person, I just wanted to highlight that I hope we will all meet in person next year in June in Brisbane. Anna, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This is the first. We're extremely happy to have had you as the inaugural early mid-career research webinar speaker. And I'm really looking forward to doing this again with everyone here and many others next time as well. The basic format that we're going to go for is a talk like this from a senior researcher, but we'd also like to use a journal club format and maybe highlight some work done by junior researchers, including the authors in the discussion. So I wanted to just mention that we're planning a few things for the LISSSD 2025 in Brisbane, and including a dedicated early mid-career researcher symposium, a barbecue by Streets Beach. And if you can see this Lancefield Society arrow, that's where the conference centre is. And just a little bit to your right, looking at the screen, you can see a large pool by the river. That's a really nice artificial beach, and I expect you guys all to be in the water after the early mid-career researcher symposium. There'll also be a career catch-up, and as always, Mark Walker and I will be hosting the George and Gladys Dick Midnight Speak Easy whiskey club every night in some corner of the hotel. So again, really, thank you so much for joining us all. Thank you to the committee, and thank you to Andrew as well. And you know, don't miss out on that meeting. Get your abstracts ready. The other thing I was going to say about when you get an invitation to present at this in this webinar format, don't have a second thought about whether or not it will affect your chances of having an abstract accepted at the meeting next year. Okay, it will probably increase your chances because we'll all get to know you and be so impressed by your work. Okay, so on that note, I think I might close the session, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in person. Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anna. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone.